Paul Harrell, weekdays from 4 to 6. Learn more at paulharrell.com.
I love my state. I love the Republican Party. It's a hard thing. Ask my mama. Mother, stand up. It's my mother. This is about the future. I love you. Thank you for being bold enough to let me speak when the pressure was on to silence me. She deserves a standing ovation.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thunderous applause. Thunderous applause. That audio you just heard was Jan Morgan from the Mississippi County Lincoln Reagan Day dinner. And it was quite an event. It was a packed house. Jan Morgan was responsible for that packed house. Her message resonated, and that to me was the most powerful portion of the speech when she referred to the pressure that was mounting for her to be uninvited from that event. And yet, listen to what she said, not to silence me. She's talking about essentially a pretty basic concept, the freedom of speech, and how there were people in the Republican establishment trying to stop that, trying to stop her ideas. And I can tell you that we have new developments after that speech and after that amazing event that resonated so well with the people of Mississippi County. Word has spread, and unfortunately now you have the Sebastian County Republican Women's Group has now uninvited Jan Morgan to speak at their event, signaling that the Republican Party is very worried of ideas, and they are scared that the truth may get out. Joining me now to talk more about this is the lady of the hour. Jan Morgan joins us. Jan, welcome back to the program. With us, Jan, you did a great job at Mississippi County.
Thank you, Paul. It's easy to deliver the right message when it's the truth and when it's the message that the people want delivered. That's what I keep trying to tell the Republican Party. This is not about Jan Morgan. It's about the people of this state. The people spoke a resounding message when they elected Donald Trump in the state of Arkansas. They were trying to send a message to the establishment, and apparently the establishment didn't get it, so I'm trying to send it again. And so when they shut me out, they're shutting out the people of this state.
Mm-hmm. And we did talk about the news that broke earlier on your Facebook page, it was out there that the Sebastian County Republican Women's Group has now uninvited you to speak at their event. And I'm telling you, this is in direct result of how your message is resonating with the people. I mean, listen to the applause that we played there, where you said, thank you for standing up and not silencing me. And people went nuts because they all knew that the establishment didn't want you there last night. And now we have some dominoes start to fall. We have people trying to fall in line, it seems like.
Exactly. And, that's going to hurt them more than help them, because what they think that I will do is just silently cower down and get my feelings hurt, say, oh, the Republican Party doesn't want me in. But see, what that does is validate what I've been saying all along, that we have a problem within the Republican Party of this state. And I talked about this openly in my speech. I said, look, I'm not here to divide the party. The party is already divided in a very big way. But here's a novel idea. There's a place that we can all come together. I'm here to help save the party, and I'm telling you that place that we can all meet is the Republican Party platform, right? The Republican Party platform. What's controversial about that? Well, I'll tell you what's controversial about it. You've got a progressive governor who doesn't want to lead the state that way, and you've got people who are riding his coattails who are scared to buck him. So I'm out there throwing the grenade, and the conservatives in the Republican Party who are too cowardly to stand up are egging me on, saying, you go, Jan, tell them, you tell them, but let us hide behind you and generate the results of that. So, I can't single-handedly save the party, but I tell you what, the people of this state can. And the Republicans of this state, every time they uninvite me to an event, I get more support from Republicans in that area. And they say, well, you know what? Forget the Republican Party. We'll have an event for you,
yes,
and we'll be separate from them. And so that's what we're going to see happen.
Yeah, there's no doubt that that's what's going to happen. So talk a little bit about, your message. I know this is part of your listening tour in a lot of ways. And I think what resonates with your message is the fact that you experienced something that's personal, that no one can take away from you when you were down at the Marble Palace and you saw the way the process was working, and you saw how, if everybody knows, and I've said this for a while, if the people knew what they were really doing in the people's name that they never find out about because nobody wants to cover, the local politics, the people would react accordingly and make another choice. And, you're considering being that other choice, and your story really resonates with the crowd.
Yes, because I went to the state capitol with the assumption that, I know there's politics as usual, but I assumed that there was going to be some accountability and transparency there, because after all, the people own the Marble Palace, and the people there who are supposed to be representing us, we're paying their salary. So I was appalled to discover, number one, of course, we don't have a revenue problem in Arkansas. We have a spending problem. I was appalled at the waste in our government with Republicans at the helm. That has to be fixed immediately. And then I discovered how they're able to get by with this is the lack of transparency. I discovered in judiciary that they have this group voice vote thing rather than a roll call vote. So the citizens of the state have no way of checking into the government website and saying, hey, I want to see how my Republican representative voted on this issue because this shouldn't have passed. That's not Republican Party. We have control of the House, the Senate, and the governor's office. Republicans do. So we should be moving. The conservative movement should be overwhelmingly taking the state back to fiscal responsibility, to deregulating businesses, to cutting taxes. I mean, there are so many things that this government should be doing under Republican leadership, and we're going the wrong direction. I just went to find out why, and I saw it. And I the things I saw and heard in the hallways and the deals being made behind closed doors, it was just revolting. And then when I went into House Judiciary to whip up on those boys, I took them to the woodshed, as those of us in the South would say, and I'm talking about our Republicans. And when I did it in a very public way, that's when thousands of Republicans across this state said, we need you to run for governor because you're the only one who is not afraid to stand up to the establishment, and you're the only one with a large enough base to give this guy a run for his money. And so that's where we are. But speaking of money, Paul, we have to have it to run. That's going to be the deciding factor. That's why we're in exploratory, to see if the citizens of this state are going to back us with their finances as well as their word.
Yeah.
It takes money to fight.
Yeah, there's no doubt. And I know you guys do have a website for that, right?
We do. You go to the Facebook page, Jan Morgan for Governor. It's there. I post it on my page. Every time I post anything about Arkansas, which is constantly, under there I put the link to donate. So, but we don't have to have what Asa has. He's got $1.5 million in his coffers, but we can fight with a lot less, just like we can run a government on a lot less. But we have to have the bare necessities.
Yeah, I mean, you absolutely do. But your message is a winning message. I mean, it's just demonstrated by last night, and I know you've got other speaking engagements and other places that you're going to be. I think it is.
But I bet they're not going to be Republican engagements. It's going to be interesting to see how many Republican dominoes fall after that speech. When they saw the response of that crowd, I mean, that's the first time Doyle Webb, the state Republican Party chair, was there, which, by the way, I got reprimanded.
Yeah, tell me about that
table when I started talking about one specific example of waste, $20 million tossed, toward Department of Human Services on a contract when the Legislative Review Board that suggested the bid go the other way. When I started talking about that, I mean, the voice from that table was, careful, careful. I mean, it was loud. Everybody in the front 3 or 4 rows heard it.
Weird.
And I even acknowledged it. I looked over at the table and said, oh, I'm being reprimanded from the floor. How interesting is that? So, they're trying to silence me on so many fronts. And the bottom line is, when they're that afraid that they don't want the people to hear your message because they know if the people hear it, the people will support it, and then they lose their gravy train. So fear is pushing that whole let's uninvite Jan to speak agenda, and it makes them look bad, not me.
Yeah, and so much of this defense is also because Asa Hutchinson has such a terrible record. And that's just
his record is egregious,
yeah.
Paul, and I'm constantly posting it on my page, and he can't argue with it. It's all fact-based. That's the crazy thing. He's asking for another term as a Republican. Now, if he would run as a Democrat, he'd probably win the Democrat ticket.
Yeah,
but
he would.
He's not.
Well, I mean, for example, so you mentioned the contract, the DHS contract. The current contract provider for this particular service was doing the job, $20 million or more cheaper, and yet ASA went with the one that was more expensive. And the legislatures were just saying, hey, we don't want to do this. He went ahead and did it anyway. When you just point out something like that, and that's basic, and to Little Rock, that's run of the mill. What's $20 million? But when you point out something like that, that's kind of minutia that they don't hear about, but it's very black and white from the Republican Party platform standpoint. It's like, why would he do that? And that is what you say, Jan, don't talk about that. You can't talk about that. That's how bad his record is. That's how bad it is.
Exactly, and unfortunately for them, I don't. They can't. All they can do is try to silence me, and so I expect a lot more of this, Paul. And fortunately, though, for me, you've got Tea Party organizations across this state and just Republicans who are mad at their own committees in their own counties for canceling me. They're planning events for me. So what are they going to do next? Call these people and say, we're going to come after your business if you have an event and host Jan Morgan? I mean, that's what we're getting down to, I'm afraid.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and, you hate that for the Sebastian County, Republican women's organization because, I mean, you're a woman, Jan, and wouldn't that be great for their event? But they don't want to have you all of a sudden. That's just so
honestly,
sad.
Paul, that was the most disappointing uninvite I've received so far because it is women. And how often is a woman in a position that I'm in right now to truly bring about change and change toward the Republican Party platform, which is what all these women are supposed to represent. It is most unfortunate, and I know some women in leadership that are really upset about it, and I understand there was quite a bit of arguing about it behind the scenes, but in the end, the cowardly side won.
Well,
let's just don't have her.
I do want to say this. There is a Northwest Arkansas senator. It's come to my attention going around and saying that at committee meetings or Republican events, it's against the rules to criticize a current elected official during their meetings, and I will tell you that is blatantly false. Conduit Media has checked into that. It's not against the rules. There's no such rule that exists, even on the county level or the state level. That is a complete lie. But I have a feeling that Jan, is also what is playing a role here. There are people in the establishment who are going around telling these committees and groups, that it's against the rules when in fact it's not.
But Paul, the thing is, what the Republican women should have done, what I would have done if I were a leader of the Republican women of this state, I would have simply said, hey, Jan, look, we've got a problem here because you're a candidate and, or a potential candidate, can we not go into the campaign issue? Can we make this about women and the conservative movement and a positive message just about women moving forward and what, how much we've grown as conservatives and what women are doing on the state level and nationally. I mean, look at Kellyanne Conway. Women are making great strides in the Republican Party. Well, Jan Morgan is not a big feminist. I'm just not. Never have been. Don't desire to be. I am not. But I could have kept a speech to that realm for that event had they asked me or had they allowed me. But no, they don't want me to appear at all. They don't want other women in the state to see me because they might actually like me and agree with me and say, you know what, we want her to represent us.
Yeah, we could follow her. She's a leader.
Exactly.
So sad. Well, Jan Morgan, I just want to say it was great seeing you at the Mississippi County event. And again, kudos to Mississippi County for standing up to the pressure. You hit the nail on the head. Your speech, I listened to it because I know I couldn't hear the whole thing, but I mean, I listened to the recording. It's really, really good stuff. And I appreciate you standing up, Jan. And I appreciate,
Thanks, Paul.
and I know you're not going to sit down. I mean, I don't care how many Republicans uninvite you. You're going to keep going.
You heard my speech in House Judiciary. You heard my speech the other night. I started this gunfight, and I don't leave in the middle of a fight. They'll either have to take me out or I'll win, one way or the other. So
Jan
not
Morgan.
over till it's over.
That's exactly right, Jan. Thank you so much. We'll do it again soon.
Thanks, Paul.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.